Hey guys, Give Me a Break Man here doing a video response to some guy named Mike, known on YouTube as Flip Flopping. Didn't want to make this video, but a lot of people are throwing in their 2 cents, and I guess I will do the same. A lot of my friends are talking about this too. Betamax DC made a video on it. Well, maybe he's the only one who's done it, actually. I don't know who else has done a video response to this guy, but yeah, anyway. Um, well, this guy, Mike's been on YouTube since December 2006, 2.5 years now. Is that right? 3.5 years? 2006. December, so yeah, 2.5 years. Anyway, and the only two videos he's gotten up, he's been able to get up, are are regarding racism in Japan, which number one I think is just sad. You live in Japan for I don't know, I think you said a couple years now or something, and the only thing you've got to say about this country is how racist it is. Is that the only experiences you got out of the whole country? I mean, you only want to focus on the negative here. Um, and that's negative. That I'm not going to say that that you're a liar, but I'm going to say that wow, my experiences are definitely different from yours, and I've been here going on 18 years now. 18 years, man. Yeah, that's right. I'm that old. But anyway, first of all, I'm going to specifically address some of the things that you brought up in your video. Number one, rocks getting thrown at you. Never heard of it. Never had rocks or anything thrown at me. I've had kids yell "fuck you" and throw their middle fingers up at me and run away, but I realize completely that they don't understand what that is, and they're getting that from movies and stuff. I mean, when a little 6-year-old says "fuck you" and runs away, haha, laughing, I don't see any malice in his face. I just see that they're having fun, and when I talk to them in Japanese, I quickly understand that they're just yelling out the only two words that they picked up from some movie. Number two, these are not in any particular order, just things I remember from your video. Dating problems. Um, yes and no. First of all, there's a reverse racism in that case, in that any white guy, no matter how nerdy, how much of a loser white guy you are, and I'm not grouping myself in that situation, but any white guy can get laid. He what's that fuck 7 ways to Sunday? Yeah. Um, I don't really want to get into this, but let me just put it this way. I don't date, well, now I'm married, so I didn't date women. It came to the point where I would not date someone if the only reason I thought they were dating me is because I was a Westerner, okay? Because that's how easy it was. The fact that you're a Westerner made it extremely easy to pick up girls. And all I can say is if you're a loser in America and you haven't ever had female attention, then this is a country for you. Now, I'm not going to put myself in that situation because I actually was fine in the States, and not to brag or anything. You can think whatever, you can probably think, oh yeah, whatever. Victor must have never come here for the women. I will admit this, there are a couple of people who stay here for the wrong reasons. One of them is we call them, a friend of mine, Mark, kind of labeled this. He said they're pussy hounds. They come over here and they can't leave because of that. That's the only thing they're interested in. But honestly, I got tired of it. Women who only wanted to date me because I was a Westerner. I really wanted to meet women who were interested in me as a human being, and not because they wanted to practice their English or because, they thought they had some romantic image of Westerners in the way they were, either romantically or sexually. And both things have happened. I've had women like actually come on to me in elevators. Um, yeah, I've had and not even just women. I've had guys like walk up to me on the platform in the subway and you grope me. Amazing stuff. I've had let's see. I've had guys knock on my door. I guess this is only one time, but this is the whole thing about this whole argument. It's like it's all subjective. This is my experience, and my experience will not be your experience. So that's the one thing you should remember as you continue listening to me controlling myself, because I really just kind of want to call Mike an idiot and be done with it. But it's not fair, Mike. So if you're watching this video, I mean, I don't really know you, but Come on, man. You've been on the YouTube for 2.5 years, and the only thing you got to say is negative crap. Come on. And yeah, maybe I take it personally too, because my wife's Japanese. My brother's married to Japanese, got Japanese, half Japanese kids. And to be honest, I think a lot of Westerners are assholes. I don't like Westerners either, man. If I had a choice of renting, you know how hard I run my own school. When it comes to hiring time, trying to hire a responsible Westerner, Jesus, it's horrible. I've hired Westerners who all they do is surf. Well, not all they do, but I found porn on their home pages, on their computers. After they left. Really nice guys too. Westerners who I've hired who have no respect for women. Just come over here and just treat them awfully. I've had really nice guys too. Don't get me wrong, not every one, but um, going back to reverse racism, I've been in centos, and old men have come up to me, and actually, like, as I'm scrubbing my body, men have pulled my shoulders back in a friendly way just to look at my junk, to check it out, because they've heard that Westerners have big junk. You know. Now, that's not, sure, it's rude and kind of annoying, but when it's an old guy doing it, you can't really, you don't, the way I was raised, just respect the age. I don't really feel, they're not threatening me. It's just kind of weird. Um, about, yeah, well, there's also, if now, remember, I'm speaking from a male point of view. I know lots of women here, Western women, who they just, a lot of Japanese men have been trained by the media that that Western women are just sex-loving whores. And of course that's not true, or a lot of you Westerners wouldn't have left America. That was inappropriate laughter. Um, Regarding apartments, yes, some places will not rent to foreigners. There are anti-discriminatory laws, but yeah, you're right. That's the way it is. And I can understand why, because I've had students who actually own apartment buildings, and they've told me they've rented to foreigners, and after the foreigners leave, they've destroyed the places. They just don't understand. You can't walk on tatami mats with shoes. You can't cook like that in the kitchen, and the walls have been just destroyed and burned and caked with this gook. They don't clean anything. Foreigners are yeah, a few bad eggs spoil the whole. A few bad, what is it called? Uh, Apples. Boy, yeah. Wow, I better cut down on that. It's only my first one here. There's little things like sitting on the subway. People don't want to sit next to you. True, sometimes, yeah, but sometimes no. Sometimes no problem at all. So, I suppose if you're sitting do they have subways out in the country? I don't think so. Uh, but that attitude, I mean, what you're talking about is not limited to foreigners. I mean, I once read I think it's called the Hiragana Times. Some guy was complaining because when a foreigner spoke on the news, they put subtitles under his Japanese, but they do the same to Japanese. Some foreigners only see something when it affects them. They don't see that Japanese do it to themselves too. Another example, a lot of parking garages in Nagoya, where I live, and I'm sure in Tokyo as well. And if I'm wrong, you Tokyoites, you tell me. A lot of parking garages will not take foreign cars. They say gaisha kinchi or something, or gaisha okotowari or something. No foreign cars. They don't want Mercedes. They don't want foreign cars. They don't want American cars. And you might think, oh, it's racist. No, it's actually because a lot of Yakuza drive those, and a Yakuza technique will be to drive into a garage, claim that their car was scratched, and then bitch to the parking lot attendants about it and get paid out for their damages, right? For some tiny damage. But anyway, the other thing about racism, this word racism, it is a Western label. Your idea of racism is not appropriate here in Japan, all right? It's not like in America where I walk down the street and I meet someone and I'm talking to them, and after a while they ask me, where are you from? And I say, I'm from Colorado. And they'll say, no, man, where are you really from? And I'll say, well, my family's ethnically from Peru. And they'll say, oh, I thought I sensed the accent. Ridiculous crap like that. Can you hear my accent? No, because it doesn't exist. But some Americans have claimed I have an accent just because I look like this. I've been called dirty Mexican, dirty Cuban, um, pretty much just those two. Puerto Rican, depending what part of the country I'm in. You know? That's racism, all right? People actually insulting me because of that. In Japan, have I been on YouTube? Yeah, I've had Japanese leave dirty comments, or not dirty, but nasty comments about "Go back to America, you ignorant American." Things like that. When they don't understand the video, it's in English, and they're misconstruing my English and assuming I'm being racist against them or something, and they're trying to insult me. But anyway, um, racism in Japan is a completely different cup of tea. Yeah, it's not the same. When it comes to jobs, you mentioned trying to get a job in Japan is hard if you're Western. Well, it depends if what you're doing. If you're an English teacher, it's a piece of cake. Any moron who does not deserve to be teaching English can get a job. So, yeah, maybe it's harder for you to get a job at Toyota or something, but the question is, can you speak English? I mean, can you speak Japanese? Because if you can't, you don't deserve to be hired at Toyota unless you're teaching English there, which actually doesn't happen really, but um and yeah, but if anyone who's met it's embarrassing to be an English teacher half the time. It is, because a lot of English teachers are idiots. They're morons. They can't explain anything, and they have no qualifications to be English teachers. And I would even say the same about me, except I actually studied English literature and I actually wanted to teach. I actually enjoy teaching, which would explain why I'm still doing it after 18 years. You know, but a lot of the teachers I meet hate it. They hate it. They don't really even see. Some of them don't even see their students as human beings. So that racism you're talking about, it goes both ways, buddy. You know that. There's a lot of scumbag foreigners over here who are just doing whatever the fuck they want because they can. Why? Because the Japanese are very polite to them. And like Oborojin said in his video, yeah, a lot of them look up to foreigners and treat them overly well. And part of the reason foreigners are assholes here in Japan is because Japanese let them. If you ask me, Japanese should be even stricter on the foreigners. You know the Yamanote Densha, the Yamanote train party that they have every year. So many people complaining about the foreigners doing it, but they don't stop them. The police are all out there in full force, but they don't stop them. You know what? Just arrest one of them, they'll stop. It's ridiculous. There are a lot of scumbag foreigners that do ruin it for everyone, as I think Radri said or someone else said. But anyway, um, yeah, your idea of racism is not exactly the same. It's not like people getting lynched here. It's not like people, are getting fired from their jobs no, no. Yeah, you can get apartments sometimes, but there are other places that specifically cater to you. So, yeah, give me a break. A lot of it is, to be honest, I'm not going to say to be honest, it's subjective. All this is subjective. My experience is different from yours. Xenophobia, it's ignorance. Japanese just don't know about foreigners. They just don't know about you. They don't know what you're going to do. You a lot of them think that I've had really ignorant questions, but not ignorant like malicious. Like people ask me, "Oh, you're American, so you have a gun, right?" I thought all Americans had guns. Oh, you lived in New York before? Do you know Madonna? You know, kind of childish. Like it's cute that they asked such a silly question. And you don't talk too much about it, but Japan is a kind of old-fashioned country in that way, and there's a lot of sexism here. I think 10 or 20 years ago, Japan had more female politicians than they do now. It's going backwards. It's very homophobic, and you can't blame just the men on that. I mean, the women are in on this too. It's just the way they feel. They're comfortable that way. And are you really one to say that that's wrong? Don't dare impose your Western values on Japanese. It's the way it is here. Something also that's very strange. I can't explain it. I haven't really thought too much about it, but it's the homophobia here. If I were to make a gay joke in, like, "Hey, honey, thanks, last night was great with you, buddy," something like that, in front of Japanese, a lot of them would be grossed out by that. A lot of homosexuals are closet homosexuals. You don't really see them. I don't really know any. Never met. I think I've met one or two that are openly gay in Japan. Not that I go out looking for them either. I'm not much of a nightclub guy, so maybe there's more out there. In Nagoya, which is a fairly large city of 3 million people or so, there used to be a gay club that opened. That was actually just a regular nightclub, and I think once a month they had gay night. I mean, that's the extent of it. I'm sure Tokyo and other big cities must have more than that. If not, I'm shocked. But the homophobia here is a bit strange, They're really homophobic. But at the same time, if you watch television, there are a lot of big, openly gay TV, personalities, Pico-chan and I don't know, his twin brother. They're both gay. There's a couple transsexuals here. There's a lot of gay bars, and these gay bars are not the kind of gay bars that Westerners have, in which gay guys go meet other gay guys and ride bareback or put handkerchiefs in their back pocket to find out what kind of stuff they like. Cruising. The gay bars in Japan are mostly like transsexual cabaret shows, in which men dressed as women. Some of them partially. I guess gender what's it called, transgenders, or people who are preoperative and post-operative transvestites, doing cabaret shows, and it's quite elegant and stuff like that, and expensive. I've never been to one, but my students have often. I've had many. They're very popular with housewives. A lot of my housewife students have told me about them, and keep telling me where I'm going to go sometime. I've just never got around to it. But so I don't claim to be an expert on those things at all. But there are quite a few of those, which is strange. I mean, there's a whole industry supported by the mainstream Japan. The whole homosexual, or not how do I say it? The gay bars here are supported by mainstream, right? It's so-called normal people go to those bars, right? So that's weird. That's weird. I can't really explain that. Anyway. This is long enough. Let me just end with this message to all of you watching. Japan is great. I love it here. Okay, it's a great country. There's a lot of really nice people here. You can make a lot of really good friends here. You will probably encounter problems. I dated a girl for a long time a long time ago who told me once her parents said they really like you, but they told me that in the end, I'm going to marry Japanese. So there's little subtle things like that, and maybe that's not even subtle, but yeah, there are people who want you to marry someone who looks like they do. But isn't that true in the States too? I mean, there are a lot of people in the States who want you to marry inside your own, racial group. It's not a big deal. Jews who want you to marry Jews, and Hispanics who want you to marry Hispanics, and whites who want you to marry whites. So it's not a big difference. Anyway, it's a great place. You will have a different experience depending on what happens to you. What I would say to you, anyone thinking of coming over to Japan, it's not that big a deal if you are a forgiving person and you realize that, and you expect some of it. Like, the one thing I would expect is the apartment thing. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is that 17 or 18 years ago when I first came here, there was one restaurant I saw that said no foreigners allowed. And when we went in, we went in, by the way, trashed, me and these two other foreigners. They told us no, very politely, that they didn't serve foreigners, and they very politely took us outside and gave us beer and walked us around the park in a very polite way and calmed us down. And we were trashed, and we really shouldn't have been anywhere. Is that racist? Three foreigners walk into a tiny, and when I'm talking about a tiny bar, I'm talking about a bar that seats maybe 10 people, It's probably, a lot of that is fear. Three big hulking guys walk into a bar in Japan. Two of them can't speak any Japanese. Why, really, why, what do you expect? Um, yeah, yeah. So there was a porno shop that was quite famous here in Nagoya many years ago, and I've never been in it because on the outside it said no foreigners allowed. And that's the only type. Oh, yeah, there are those. I hear there are those like soapland sexual. Oh, actually, one of my students, her husband owns a kind of I guess it's kind of sexual services place. I've always wanted to go and take a video, but I'm sure I would never be allowed. And I haven't ever approached him. I don't really know him. I know her, his wife, but she told me that foreigners are not allowed there because foreigners don't know when to say. They don't know when to stop. They don't understand rules. They think the rules don't apply to them, and that's true here in Japan. A lot of foreigners come here and they just think the rules don't apply to them. You want to come over here and you want to be polite and do your best to obey the rules and be a good representative of the country, then come to Japan. You'll have a great time. Be ready to experience some forms of discrimination that you're not completely comfortable with, but also note that you're going to get a lot of things handed to you on a silver platter just because of your Western background. So anyway, I hope this video was useful to anyone who's thinking of coming over to Japan. Yeah, that's all I got to say.